The Wolf's Trail. Snow fell early in those parts. By mid-October, it already creaked under boots with a hard crust, and trees stood in white trim, frozen in place as if unable to stir. Ivan Danilovich, a hunter and trapper with 20 years' experience, entered the taiga as always with the first snow. He was nearly 60, but hands were strong, eyes sharp, stride wide. He lived alone. His family remained in the past, as happens with many in his profession. Some moved to the city, others passed away. He stayed in the forest. His winter shelter stood in a hollow by a nameless river, 10 kilometers from the old narrow-gauge rail line. A log cabin, tin stove, bunks, a kerosene lamp, tincture on cedar nuts, and a dog named Zhilka, old and going deaf. A paradise for those tired of words. The first weeks passed as usual. Traps, pelts, tea with strong tobacco, the smell of tar, dreams without dreams. But in the third week, something strange began.
Zhilka, usually calm, grew restless at night, whining, staring at the door, unable to sleep. One morning, Ivan saw tracks in the snow. Large, wolf-like, almost like a dog's, but too precise, as if carved. They circled his hut and led toward the slope. "Strange," he muttered. "Wolves usually keep their distance." He checked his rifle, but didn't worry. In the taiga, a wolf is no miracle. That evening, as a campfire crackled just beyond his clearing, he saw it again. At the edge of the trees in twilight stood a silhouette. A wolf. White. Not gray, not speckled, but snow-white, as if cut from mist. Ivan rose, but the creature didn't run. It simply stood, then gave a slight nod, like a person. "Well, that's devilish," he told Zhilka when he returned. "Am I senile, or is the forest deceiving me?"
At night he dreamed a voice. Not a dream, but a voice, a whisper from behind the wall. "Time to remember, hunter." Ivan awoke, feeling as though someone had watched him all night, not through the window, but into his mind, to his very core. He sat on the bunk, fed more wood into the stove, and watched for a long while as fire licked the cast-iron walls, burning away the night's cold. "Time to remember, hunter." The whisper was so clear it felt spoken into his ear. Then silence again, deep as a grave. The taiga knows how to be terrifyingly silent. He poured himself tea, added a pinch of salt, as old men did, so the land would listen, and sat by the window. The white day was dimming on the horizon. Frost deepened. Zhilka stared anxiously toward the forest. "Are you uneasy too?" he asked, and the dog sighed softly. That day he followed a trail down along the river. A long abandoned outpost once stood there, where he and Yefim wintered in their youth. Yefim vanished 30 years ago. He went out to check his snares and never returned, No sign, no blood, not even a scent. Only his knife was found in spring, frozen in ice. Locals whispered that the taiga had claimed its toll. Yefim was good, but stubborn. He didn't believe in spirits, in boundaries or old taboos. He laughed when told not to go to that slope, that the master lived there. He'd say, "I have a rifle, not a fairy tale." And then disappeared. By evening, Ivan returned with a heavy feeling under his ribs. There was something unseen but near, as if the past had come to remind him of itself. Again by the fire, in the darkness between firs, there it was, the white wolf, again. It stood and watched.
"What you want?" whispered the hunter. "Come on, what do you need?" The wolf didn't move, but in its eyes, not animal emptiness, there was light, sadness, and recognition. Zhilka didn't bark, she didn't whine. She pressed against Ivan's legs and trembled, as from cold or fear. "You're not a wolf, are you?" he exhaled. The wolf, as if understanding, nodded again, straight, humanly. Then it turned and disappeared into the darkness, but before it left, a single imprint remained in the snow, a human one. Ivan crouched beside it. His look grew heavy, like a winter sky. For the first time in years, he felt the taiga breathe near him, not around him, but near, like a living thing. That night, another dream came. He saw Yefim, young in a hunting jacket, with the same mischievous squint. "Well, brother, you're still here. Time for you to walk my trail." And in his palm was the same footprint as the wolf's. In the morning, Ivan couldn't gather his thoughts. The dream pressed on him, not frightening, but deep as an ice-cut hole. Yefim, the white wolf, the trail, everything wove into something he could not express in words. He understood one thing. The forest called him, but differently than before, for more than just game, pelts. To the inside, to where hunters don't go, where even beasts tread softly. He packed his things, thermos, rifle, the old map he'd drawn with his father. He took a small amulet, a bark-carved cross given to him by his Evenki grandmother many years ago. Then he laughed at himself. Today, he hung it beneath his collar. Zilka didn't come. She lay by the door, turned away. Old dogs know where not to follow, even their master. Snow creaked dull. The sun didn't penetrate the gray sky, and the taiga felt carved from ash. He walked along the old riverbed, where Yefim was last seen. No one traveled there anymore, not people, not even moose. On a rise he saw it, an old campsite, half swallowed by earth. Frame of a hut, black as bone, an overgrown hearth, silent, but in the air was the smell of smoke, fresh, acrid, as if someone had just left.
He knelt, ran his palm over the ground, and froze. Tracks, fresh, 2 wolf prints, and a third, human, barefoot, in the snow. Something stirred in his chest, not fear, not horror, memory. He recalled Yefim speaking of an old stranger who walked barefoot in frost and left no tracks. It was a joke then, but now the trail was real. He walked a little further and saw a tree, strange, as if scorched. On its trunk a symbol, not letters, runic but Slavic, not carved but burned into the wood, as if lightning had struck it. Around the tree neither snow nor sounds existed, only silence, as inside a skull. He removed his hat, whispered, "Forgive my intrusion. I came not for prey." At that instant a wind gust passed through the trees as an answer, not angry but accepting.
Dusk came. He had to rest, the darkness deeper than sense. He built a small fire shielded behind a boulder and sat watching the flame. Around him the silence only found in deep woods. No birds, no creaks, not even wind, only a twig snapping. Then a rustle. At first slight, then footsteps. 3, no, 4, gentle, wolf-like. And again, him, the white wolf, only closer, very close. The firelight played across its muzzle, and Ivan saw for the first time on the wolf's brow was a dark spot, the shape of a palm. The hunter stayed still, didn't move. He only said, "I will go where you lead." The wolf lowered its head and sat as though waiting. Night deepened, dense as resin. But the fire, small though it was, gave light and the sense that the world had not dissolved completely. The wolf still sat before him, and Ivan felt this was no mere beast. This was someone who had waited for him a long time.
He rose, stepped closer. The wolf didn't flinch. It only stood and slowly walked down the slope, glancing back. Ivan took his rifle, not to shoot but from habit, and followed. They walked long, in silence. Snow did not creak, as if under them lay another trail, not of earth. On the left stood the silhouettes of trees, on the right, silence. In his head it buzzed, not painfully, but tensely, as if the air thrummed with an old radio transmission. At some point he understood the place wasn't on the map, neither his father's old one, nor in memory. Everything here was too even, correct, as if the forest itself parted to let them through. Then he saw it, a valley. Wide, white, shrouded in mist, with remains of log structures protruding from snow. Not winter shelters, not hunting cabins, older, like a settlement that shouldn't exist. Skeletons of buildings buried in earth, a well nearby, an upright post with a loop. No snow here, and the air was not cold, dead.
He stopped, looking down. The wolf also stopped and softly howled, a long lament, and this howl echoed inside him. Ivan remembered, before the war people spoke of the Black Valley, that people left and did not return. During the war there was a camp. Later it disappeared. Locals avoided the place. They said the taiga buried it with its roots. "Is this the place?" he asked. "You want me to—" He left unsaid. From the mist emerged a figure, not wolf nor man, something between.
human height, in a fur coat, face hidden by hood, but from beneath it gleamed wolfish eyes, eyes he had already seen. The figure raised a hand, then he saw a bone amulet, just like Yefim's. "Yefim," he whispered. No reply, only rustling inside his head. A wordless voice, images. How his friend walked the trail and was accepted. How he left his flesh but did not vanish. How the hunter, breaking boundaries, became part of the forest. A guardian. Ivan fell to his knees, not from dread, from understanding. "It was you, all this time." The figure nodded, then stepped closer, touched his shoulder, and dissolved. Not gone, not evaporated, but merged into him like a part long lost. The wolf howled again, now no longer alone. Ivan understood. He, too, would become part of this trail, but not today. Today he was shown that life is more than flesh, that memory does not die, that the taiga protects those who hear it. He returned by morning. Zhilka waited by the door, did not bark, only lay beside him. On Ivan's hat, the crystal of ice in the shape of a wolf's paw. Ivan didn't remember how he returned to his cabin. His head buzzed as if he walked through something viscous, ancient. He awoke in the hut, embers quietly crackling in the stove, Zhilka sleeping by his boot. He sat, poured water. The tea was cold, but he drank it as hot, for inside everything boiled. Not fear, but insight. What had happened? No mere mirage, not hallucination of solitude, not a forest ghost. It was a path. Not a hunting path, a life path. He looked at the rifle against the wall, and for the first time in many years felt no need to carry it with him. In the days that followed, he went into the forest, but no longer for game. He placed signs, small, nearly invisible, made of branches, stones, birch bark. Others would not notice, but those who know where to look would understand.
One such sign, on a fir branch, a wolf's paw with a cross beside. Another, at the old hearth, birch bark inscribed, "Listen, don't take, give back." He knew few winters remained, but his duty was not to die in silence, but to pass this on, because a trail without footprints is just snow. At night, he dreamed again of the fire. He sat opposite the white wolf. Now it wasn't alone. A young man stood beside it, in a hunting jacket, with a backpack, holding a map. The young man looked at Ivan, and he understood. There he was, the one who would walk on. Not now, in years, but the trail already waits. In the morning, he sat at the table, took out an old tin can from under condensed milk, and placed a letter inside. He wrote it on birch bark.
If you read this, it means you too have heard the call. I will not tell you what to do. Only one thing. Do not take from the taiga if it does not give. Go, but listen. Look around, and if you see the wolf, do not fear. This is not the end. This is the beginning.
Signed, Ivan Danilovich, Hunter, the one who heard. Snow had been falling a third day straight. He sat by the window, drank tea, and waited. Didn't know what, just waited. In the evening, again, at the forest's edge, a white silhouette, a wolf. He rose, slowly, without weapons, without fear. He walked to the door. He looked back. Zhilka stayed behind, lying calmly as if she knew. Now he walks not where they hunt, but where they remember. The wolf waited, then stepped into the depths. Ivan followed, and the snow covered their trail. The year was 1987. Alexei, a young ranger from the Verkhnekazhim area, was assigned to check remote winter shelters in the east side of the district. The area was remote, abandoned, the map outdated. They said no one had been there for about 15 years.
He skied for the third day. His dog, Raijuka, walked alongside, silent. The land was pristine, untouched. No human tracks, no cut branches, only ancient silence as if time were asleep. And suddenly, at dusk, he saw a hut. An old winter shelter, solid yet overgrown. Snowdrifts at the windows, the door wide open as if someone just stepped out. He entered. Everything remained. Bunks, stove, kettle, old kerosene lamp. On a shelf, a tin can from condensed milk. Inside, birch bark and a message.
Alexei sat long, staring at the inscription. Then he pulled out his map. A red pencil circled a spot, not in his notes. He folded the birch bark and tucked it into his pack. He left, and he saw... At the tree line, in the gray dusk, stood a wolf, white, staring directly at him, not growling, not moving, just waiting. Raijuka did not bark. She sat beside him and perked an ear. Alexei stepped forward. Once, then again, and the wolf slowly began to walk. He did not know where this trail led, but inside him was a clear knowing. If he follows, he will understand. Not right away, but the taiga will tell him everything if he listens. That evening, as snow began to cloak the sky, on an empty clearing near the old hearth remained a fresh trail, a wolf's, and beside it, a human's. The old snow cracked, the forest exhaled, and in the depths a white silhouette dissolved in twilight, leading another hunter forward. The wolf's trail is not just a path through the woods. It is a journey through the self, through memory, through fear, through loneliness, toward that which lives in each who hears the taiga. If you do not take without asking, if you see not with your eyes, if you hear not with your ears but your heart, they will let you pass.